Print out the agenda, so you're running this meeting.
Oh, am I? Ooh. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So should we call it?
Do you have a quorum?
All right.
Yes, we do.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's the agenda.
Wait, do we? One, two,
Total number, I can't remember.
yeah, 5. Yes, we're good.
Five is a quorum.
Yeah.
Okay, very well. So I don't have the minutes from, I don't know. Oh, that's who's missing, Joe.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure if he has the minutes from our last meeting. I know, like I said, it was 4 months ago. But I don't know. What do we do in this situation, I guess?
Just skip it. Yeah.
Just don't approve them. We'll approve them at the next meeting.
All right.
Didn't he send them off to us already, and then we had to cancel that meeting, so we approved them online?
Right. I'll have to go back into my email and take a look.
Yeah. Because I think it was one of those that the meeting got canceled last minute, and then I thought we had to approve them online, but you can check.
Okay. I'll double check on that. Now, as far as the acceptance of the ECOA financial report, what I included in that packet, I don't know how, but I got the wrong month. What was supposed to have shown up was the beginning of this fiscal year. So it should have been the July expense control report. So I'll have to refer people over to the budget section of the packet, because that's what should have shown up, because we're fresh off in the new fiscal year. You know, and we'll talk about the budget. We made out okay for FY21. So yeah, so that I don't know if it would be appropriate to resubmit that to Barbara and get that in, but the one that's in there right now is the wrong one.
You mean resubmit it for the sake of the minutes?
Yeah, I think probably that would be the most appropriate action.
Yeah, I agree.
I have it on me. I'll just ask her what she would like me to do. But whatever's in this packet right now, I know that went out and it's available on the city website. That part is wrong, so I just want to go on the record saying that.
Okay.
So anyway, obviously we don't have a Highland Valley report. I've been working with them on stuff in regards to grant opportunities, but and we'll get into that, into the new business. But one thing, and maybe this is a time to actually talk about this, but in that packet, Highland Valley is asking for us to designate or pick someone from the board who would want to be in touch with Highland Valley. They consider it part of a community effort, and they want to see a representative from the ECOA. I'm not sure who would be interested.
I'm not putting my hand up.
Yeah, we hear you, Pat.
Irene wants to do it. She knows how.
No.
Well, it is something that I would like to see done. I mean, it is something that they're asking me for. A decision doesn't have to be made today, but Highland Valley is looking for some type of correspondence by September, October. So it would be nice to have some type of representative. I think most communities, I know Estelle was acting on that front for us, but it would be a good idea to possibly look at who out of the board might be able to serve in that capacity.
Brandon, can you give us like the kind of the nuts and bolts of what that would involve? Like what does that mean?
Yeah, so I believe what would have to happen is you would attend possibly a monthly meeting, and of course it would probably be via Zoom, but the opportunities to represent Easthampton and the elder services here in this community would be a key role. If there were any gaps in services, or if the ECOA was reporting issues with our community and how Highland Valley might be able to come in and assist us. And also knowing about grant opportunities that come up, I get informed of them, but also it's good that our board is aware of what grant opportunities out there exist. And so it just involves kind of an all around, like us bringing gaps in services to Highland Valley, but also, to understand the grant opportunities that Highland Valley is, giving to us. So
I think Pat,
Also, I think that they don't meet during the summer. They might take a few months off during the summer, so it's less of a commitment than every month.
right.
So,
And again, they're not looking for an answer right now, but I would like to respond to them in September. So maybe if people can start thinking about it and whether or not they see themselves in that role, it shouldn't be a huge commitment.
And I think Pat and Brendan, if I'm not mistaken, I think you can get as little or much involved with that group as you might like. I think Estelle like dove in and really, I think she ended up on a subcommittee or two, maybe, if I recall. She really jumped in with both feet and got very, very involved with Highland Valley. And I'm not so sure that's necessary. I wouldn't want someone to get on there and then feel like, oh my God, I've got to get on one of these subcommittees. And you know how it goes, guys and girls. They always say it's just one meeting a month. And then before you know it, it's 3 or 4.
Right.
But I don't think that has to be the case with this.
No, and I think, so there are ASAP, we turn to them for everything. So I think it's good. I had thought about it more after receiving the letter, and I know it's one more thing to join, but I really would like, if they're requesting this from us and given the amount of support they've given us, I'd like to see something like that. And I think the thing is with Estelle too, to keep in mind, is that she was not only acting as a representative for the ECOA, but she was also heavily invested as president of the Highland Valley Board. So I think her role went, way beyond what would probably be expected from someone from the ECOA board.
Agreed.
I'm sorry, was that you, Pat?
Background. It's background.
Oh, okay, all right. So we're moving on to the executive director's report. And as you can see, we've had to adapt. And many of you guys have probably already heard this, but we have developed community relationships since COVID has happened. Not that we didn't have them or they didn't exist before, but I think now more than ever they've strengthened. So our connection with the community center and becoming a delivery system for their senior pantry bag drop-off has been a huge success.
So Patricia, down in the, are you on your phone or an iPad?
I'm on an iPad.
So I think it's down in the left or right corner. You can just hit mute and then we won't hear the stuff in the background.
Thank you.
It happens all the time. Don't worry.
Yeah, so I think, one thing I have to give a lot of credit to is our staff have really just transitioned to all of this. They've done stuff that goes outside of their normal responsibilities here at the center, but because we don't have a place where people are coming into our building, we've had to quickly change the way we look at providing services. So the virtual programming, food delivery, and just the social services end has continued to move along. And the only thing I think is kind of tricky right now and that we're falling, at issues with is not everybody is going to want to be linked into Zoom. Not everybody is going to want to use a Facebook live feed or a YouTube feed to get their content, but there's not much that can be done for that, in some levels. Some people have just, been resistant to us and they told us not what they want to be doing. Others have kind of adapted with us. But I think, we have to keep trying with virtual programming because when we do reopen, I have a feeling that we're going to have to really restrict the size of a class or meetings. So we'll have to really be looking at hybrid versions, both virtual and on site. So it's something that we need to really kind of continue working with and to kind of hone in on those virtual skills because I have a feeling September is going to come and I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling there's been some talk about the ventilation in this building. It's a 1932, 31 post office. It doesn't have the best HVAC system. So ventilation has been brought up. That might be reviewed at some point next month with the Board of Health. But if September 1st comes and we can't reopen our doors, which I kind of imagine to be the case, again, we'll have to continue trying to reach our seniors any way possible.
Brendan, when you're referring to some reluctance or lack of experience on getting on some of these things, are you referring to participants or in programs or who are they?
Yeah, so a lot of our participants have said that they don't like the experience.
Okay, okay.
But, you know, there are some groups, like the men's group meets every single, or every other Thursday rather, and they're consistent about it. All of the guys are on Zoom. They're ready to chat up about politics and you name it. So it's done really well for groups like that, which I was kind of surprised, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, we've done some arts and crafts classes and stuff like that, where we purchased the supplies and then we dropped them off at the participant's household. And then they joined in either via Zoom. But I gotta say this, also, Easthampton Media has been huge in helping us, because we know that not everybody's gonna have internet access. We also know that not everybody, even if they do have internet access, is gonna be, you know, on Zoom. So we have to continue taking our content and putting it on Easthampton Media. So Jen Ramsey and her team have done an excellent job. Anytime we've asked them to put on a concert, we did a virtual concert with Crimson Canary, which are local musicians here last month. Was it last month? Anyway, we had 80 something participants who joined, and we knew that not everybody was going to be on Facebook, you know, watching the live stream. So that ended up getting put over into the public access channel. So, you know, we have wonderful support system for this. We just have to kind of continue thinking outside of the box as to how we want to deliver this to folks.
Yeah, I think the more we can progress with that, the better, because I would agree with you on September 1st. Let's face it, we're dealing with the most vulnerable population when it comes to COVID, and you know, City Hall may or may not open September 1st, but I think my gut's telling me the COA is going to be one of the last places in town to open.
And to be honest with you, in the phasing of all the, you know, the reopening phases and stuff like that, the COAs aren't, you know, the language has always been people who are immunocompromised or elderly should continue to isolate at home. And so I can't imagine, I've seen some reopening plans from, I can't remember, somewhere out near Boston. And I just, you know, and this is something that I do want to talk to you about as a board, because when we do reopen, there's going to be a lot of thought going into it. And I'm sure that the mayor and the Board of Health or the Public Health Department, if I'm not ready and say, should we by some chance reopen in September, I think I could probably delay that until we figure out an option, because one of the issues that we have here is that I can't create a traffic flow that would provide people, you know, reduced exposure to other folks. It's an open floor concept on the main floor here, and then our rooms downstairs are pretty tiny. So, you know, it's going to be tricky to navigate, but that's something that I would like to see the board involved in. And if there's any way that maybe one of our board members, you know, could possibly look at being part of the reopening, I guess, I don't want to say committee, but it is something that I don't want to necessarily do alone, and I could use support from the board to do this.
Do it.
Okay, great.
I also want to take this opportunity, Brendan, to really thank you and the entire team of doing everything you've done during the pandemic.
Thank you.
Literally probably have saved a lot of lives. I've seen you at Biggie's shopping for residents, and you know, it's saving that individual from having to potentially expose themselves to the virus. And you quickly adapted your whole team to be able to deal with a pandemic and serving our seniors. So I really want you recognized and know that you and your team are very much appreciated.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll second that. I'll second that, because I see Brent all the time. I see him all the time back and forth. And so I know you're doing a ton. So just know that definitely is appreciated and noticed. So
Thank you. Yeah, again, none of this would have been possible without my staff's ability to just change the way they think about everything here in the senior center. And they continue to offer, you know, amazing support. And when I ask them to step outside of their normal boundaries as to what they do here, I haven't had any resistance. Everybody's just been ready from the very beginning. So I'm very, very lucky for that. So.
Just along those same lines, thanks for bringing that up, Eileen and Pat. But I did have a conversation this morning with a city councilor, and I said, you know, we're constantly praising, and well-deserved, but we're constantly praising first responders, you know, police, fire. But I said, you know, please don't let the council overlook what our COA is doing and that team's doing for, you know, there's sort of the unsung heroes that are way under the radar screen, you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, any support you guys want to send towards city council, you know, I feel like that would be wonderful on our end, because
Will do.
acknowledgement is great, and for my staff especially.
I'll take care of that on Facebook.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I had mentioned, as you know, going back to the report, you know, we had partnered up with ECC, and as you can see here, probably by the end of this month, or probably by the end of next week, we would have delivered 1,000 different bags, you know, throughout the community. And of course, Robin is a wonderful asset, and with this partnership, she's able to continue going out and search for food, because for a while there, she was having to drive as far as Worcester, and then she was having to make the deliveries that we're doing now on the weekends. So she had very little time. So, you know, this partnership has kind of freed up, you know, time for her to be able to go out and track down food resources, while we've been able to, you know, get the deliveries done really quickly every Thursday for her. So, and you know, again, she's kind of our local hero, and I think, as you know, as far as we're acknowledging, you know, not only first responders, but I think people like Robin at the community center, you know, I can't say enough about her. So it's been a wonderful partnership. And of course, Biggie's has been huge in all of this as well, and I can't give them enough thanks. They helped us kind of navigate the issues that we were having, because some people were interested in getting the grocery shopping delivery program, but may have had an EBT card and didn't have the money necessarily. And at first, when we initiated this grocery shopping delivery program during the pandemic, we didn't have that option, but Marie and Mike over at Biggie's helped us figure out how we could use people's EBT cards, so that way we weren't just asking people to, you know, pay for groceries, especially if they had a benefit from the state to do so. So that was awesome, and it helped us avoid the bureaucracy of state government and fast tracking things. So enough can't be said about them. Wonderful neighbors. And also, I wanted to acknowledge, and it's in here as well, Paul St. Pierre had approached us in the very beginning, you know, when this all broke, and you know, he donated several hundred bottles of hand sanitizer to us, which we were able to distribute to people all throughout the community. So again, I can't highlight how much these partnerships have grown, and that we have that support. So, you know, much like the staff, if we didn't have other community partners, we wouldn't have been able to do half the things that we've done so far. And then a lot of interdepartmental partnerships have developed as well. We, you know, hooked up with the public health department to do face mask delivery. We delivered almost like 300 something households over the period of the last month or so. So that's been a great way to, if people didn't get a chance to go down to the face mask pickup down at 50 Payson, we were able to get to those folks who missed the opportunity or just couldn't get out of the house to do so. And then I think as far as, as far as Highland Valley goes, I did put in for a Title III CARES Act grant, which we were awarded. It's $3,500. This allows us, the focus of this grant kind of puts us into the world of tech support. And so what we're gonna do with this money, part of it's gonna be used for PPE. The other part is going to be used for buying devices and a mobile Wi-Fi system. So if there were people who were interested in doing some of these Zoom sessions but didn't have the access to internet or didn't have a device to do so, we would be able to do kind of like a library, essentially. We'd be able to lend out these devices and people could use it. And we would have everything set up for quick and easy access before we, you know, gave it to someone. You know, certainly we don't want them responsible for setting up, you know, member information or account information for a brand new tablet. So all that stuff's we'll have IT support helping us here in the city, and we'll be able to distribute them. I mean, there won't be many tablets, but certainly the option would be there. Of course, we would sanitize the equipment after it was, returned back to us. But I think this would give one more opportunity for folks to join in, given that virtual programming is probably going to be the thing to come for the next however many months, maybe longer than that. So that was one thing that we put in for and that we got. And then another big highlight, Highland Valley also, we just started our congregate meals, and we're doing meals on Fridays. So it's a free meal service. Donations are accepted, of course. And we've got 50 Payson as a pickup site. We're originally going to do it here, but then I immediately thought of the traffic nightmare that would have come from having people drive up to our side lot here, and just knew that I was begging for an accident. So 50 Payson, they don't have anybody working on Friday typically. So that's become our site now for the summer. We're going to be there every Friday giving out meals to people. So. But yeah, so those are some of the bigger ticket items. And I think, we're, again, adapting and learning where we're fitting in. These congregate meals were supposed to happen when the center was open back in April. Of course, that happened. And so now we're picking them back up again and, just getting them out to the community. And the thing is that we kind of created an interesting setup over at 50 Payson where the traffic flow actually works. It's kind of just this circular pattern, and people don't have to get out of their cars. We just, give it to them, and then they can be off. We don't want anybody getting out and having to go up to a table or anything like that. It's just a quick delivery. We can put it in their truck if they want it, and then they can, take off soon thereafter. So, but yeah, that's the thing we've kind of been doing in short over the last 4 months, and we're moving along.
Sounds great.
And let me see here. So if at this point we want to go into new business, because I don't have old business really, mostly, just new since last time we met anyway. Going back into the FY21 budget, we were level funded. So we ended up doing okay. For the most part, that wasn't the case for other municipal departments. So we're able to maintain the same level of staff. No one has been furloughed. Anybody who's left for ECOA staff did so on, their own. So there we had 2 staff members here that are in their 70s that didn't want to continue working, and rightfully so. But it wasn't because we had no funding to pay for those positions. It's just they chose not to come into the center. And there's limited work at this point that can be done remotely. We're shifting to kind of more on-site, whether it's meal delivery or other delivery systems. We've done wellness checks, and we'll probably do another round pretty soon. That could be done remotely, but for some of those folks, we had to say, well, we need the hands here on site, or if you don't feel comfortable with that, then But anyway, yeah.
So Brendan, what's our total number of staff, and how many are coming in?
So we have 5, and we're able to keep within the guidelines from the state because we have our own individual office spaces. So we're able to do it based on our building size and the fact that we have separate office spaces. So that's been working out. In common areas, the health department has written up a face mask policy, obviously. Any common areas, or if you have to go into someone's office, face masks are absolutely required. And so that's pretty much how it's been running with staff. So there's 5 total.
Good.
How many? So with those, how many people do you think you're serving? How many think over the last? Obviously you don't have people coming in, so you can't really count. But how many people do you think you've been able to kind of provide services for? Under these conditions?
So under these conditions, it's usually I print out statistics from my senior center and include them into the board packet. But depending on what program you're talking about, so again, for the face mask delivery, that's 300 right off the bat, right there. Another 125 for the hand sanitizer. And those are just like, programs that kind of randomly popped up and we were able to deliver.
Yep.
Outreach services, The reason why I didn't print out outreach statistics is because the way it looks, we did, from when the COVID started, we did a ton of wellness checks. And yes, that's, I guess, a service in of itself on some levels. But we were ranging, you know, at the very beginning, outreach stats made it seem like we were hitting about 600 on average from March to April.
Mhm.
But a lot of that came down to wellness checks. So that's why it kind of looks a little weird when you print out the statistics. But yeah, so hundreds at this point,
Okay.
certainly, you know.
Perfect. That's
And Brendan, if we talk about those services, because I think where Pat's going here, and I'm kind of in the background a little bit, but maybe we're building a little PR campaign here for you.
Right.
You know, those services.
that's really what I'm doing.
Yeah, right.
Not just kind of, but wellness checks. You're still taking people to doctor's appointments?
Yes. Actually, transportation is starting to pick back up again. And I did print out this graph, and you can see it's in the packet, the impact of COVID-19 on our services there.
Yeah.
We had hit a record low with transportation, and obviously so a lot of doctors have been shying away from medical appointments unless they were absolutely necessary. So you can see from January, into February, we were dealing with roughly about 100 medical trips per month. And then after that, we ended up dipping down to 57 in between March and April. So a lot of these essential appointments were still happening, but the numbers just really went down.
I think the point is the service was there.
The
The service never stopped.
Yeah. And MCOA printed out a guideline that was really helpful for us to kind of figure out, because we were providing one-on-one transportation, and while our numbers were low, doing one-on-one was logistically a nightmare, especially as we start seeing a tick up in medical appointments again.
Mhm.
And you can see right around May, we're starting to go from that down slope, and then we're hitting an arch again. And doing one-on-one transportation, while it was convenient and really nice, and for safety purposes, our wheelchair vans, offered a little bit more security than our minivan. So we were able to bring people one-on-one, but where we ran into issues is we would have two people going over to Northampton to the same exact medical facility at the same time, or within like 5 or 10 minutes. And pre-COVID, we would just end up pairing those two people up just to save us time and resources.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So MCOA officially put out guidelines for us now for transportation, which, it's nice to have, because our wheelchair vans, actually technically based on their size, any vehicle with 8 seats or more can hold 2 passengers plus a driver.
Mhm.
That's exactly what our wheelchair vans are. So if we use the minivan for whatever purposes, we can transport 1. But this is allowing us to now free up our schedule a little bit, and deal with figuring out how do you get 1 driver, or even 2 drivers that matter, going to the same exact place with 2 different people in 2 different vehicles in and around the same time. It was very challenging. We've asked all our riders, of course, to be wearing masks, and if they've, we have signs posted up on the vehicles, just noting symptoms.
When it comes to services, Brendan, I just want to make sure we're not forgetting anything. So doctor's visits, the grocery delivery, the masks.
Yep.
Are we actually still taking people shopping?
We are, yeah.
are.
That was actually a thing that we discussed with the public health department. And I think the mayor and Bree were both on board with this, from the very beginning. So, there was this, we were urging people to go with the grocery shopping delivery program, but for whatever reason, if they couldn't, we still made it an option to go out to a grocery store because that was essential services.
Mm-hmm.
And so our way around that was, instead of just bringing a cluster of people over there, we then opened up Big Y and Big E shopping throughout the week. So that way we could take it individually. So,
Good,
yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So going back to the new business again, our budget, we're moving forward. I don't know what our EOEA grant looks like. That's another part of our budget that we're not 100% sure of. They're telling us that anticipate it being the same $12 per senior, which would give us $42,000 and yeah, $42,060. Yeah, would roughly be the figure. Hopefully it doesn't get cut because that's a huge supplement to our city appropriations. But that decision has yet to be made, which is funny because here we are in the first month of the new fiscal year and I have payroll to be managing on that. Our activity coordinator is currently being paid 100% out of that. So I'm hoping that we don't run into any issues, but you know, again, I have to wait and see, but our city appropriations is solid and I feel pretty comfortable with that. I think we can navigate through this with our current budget. But yeah, we'll see about the EOEA formula grant money.
Is there anyone or anything we can do to advocate to see if, maybe that amount can increase considering what's really going on here? I just didn't know if we should contact anyone in the state or write letters or encourage people to advocate for it.
Yeah, I think that would be actually a great idea. And I'll check in with Nicole. And the one thing the mayor has been really adamant about, and this is right before we started the new fiscal year, was putting in reimbursement for FEMA and CARES Act money. Now, FEMA money, from what I have been told from our finance director, may not be available for another 2 years. But in any case where our staff was pulled outside of our normal duties to address COVID-related issues, so for example, Jenna going to the grocery store, every single day, for the last couple of months, I billed out for her entire, time spent in the grocery store or, taking in requests or lists from people who were using the service. And I put that into a spreadsheet and we sent it off to the finance director. I believe FEMA gives us that's pretty quick to be reimbursed at. I think that's a 25% they give of reimbursement. And then I think the rest, I believe, and I don't want to be speaking out of turn here, but I believe the rest would then be picked up by FEMA potentially, but that's a big question mark too, I think. But I would have to follow up with the finance director about that. So I think what we're seeing is the administration right now is very much seeking alternative supplemental money from the federal government. And I've been very good at, getting that out. So
good.
Yeah.
In this case, Brendan, this is just your normal appropriation that should be coming by June 30, I assume, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, are you asking when the FEMA money might come in, or
no, the ECO, the money that you're still waiting on that you get every year, the $12 per.
Oh yeah, for that, actually, what was interesting for the EOEA grant money, I wasn't sure if we could reimburse on that, but the finance director is going to give it a shot. So, say if we did get a cut in our EOEA formula grant money, we will be submitting a spreadsheet for where we had to use PPE, pick up additional hand sanitizer, you name it. All that stuff is incredibly expensive right now. So that might be something that we can get reimbursed on. But city appropriations, as I said, are fine and we're moving along as planned. FY22 might be a different story as we really start to feel the impact of what it has done. But we'll see.
Okay.
All right. And I think the other two things, I kind of jump around and I apologize in the new business, but we did talk about having a representative for the Highland Valley Elder Services. So that's something to think about. Doesn't have to happen right now, but if people want to start thinking about where they might be able to fill in that role, great. And we can possibly discuss it. I can send an email out a couple weeks from now and just getting a feel from folks.
We can put in the minutes that Pat's thinking about it.
Yeah. Right.
What's that, Pat? I didn't hear that.
Tom is also thinking about it.
Thinking a lot about it, but.
And again, not that I expect this to happen anytime soon, but developing a reopening committee, I think, would be really important. I don't want it just to be, you know, one thought process on this. I feel like there's a lot to consider, and given our population, I feel like as we come to that time period, and God knows when that'll be, but when we do approach that, it would be nice to have more than, you know, one person looking at it. And of course, we'll get plenty of guidance from the health department. But, you know, again, the more minds that are collecting on this issue of reopening, the better off we'll be.
Brendan, is this reopening committee a reopening committee looking at the city or just looking at COA?
COA. I'm calling it a committee because I don't know if that's the right, you know, word to use for it exactly, but I would want the board to help us out to figure, you know, as an advisory board, especially to weigh in on where they felt we should be with reopening.
Definitely.
Whether or not, you know, we all agree collectively about when a safe time is to open.
Yep. Definitely. I think we can all participate in that if we need to.
Sure.
We can all help Eileen.
But outside of that, that's pretty much what I have. And I'm sorry for talking your ears off, but you know, just I felt like after 4 months, and given the fact that we're now finally set up on Zoom, you know, I feel like it's high time. You know, but I don't know if anybody else has any questions or, you know, thoughts on what's going on. But
I actually, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Eileen.
I have a question. Has the Easthampton neighbors been helpful during this past month?
Yeah, whoops, my lord. Yeah, no, they've actually played a huge role in getting the grocery delivery, plus the pantry when we didn't have staff to do it. So I think the problem that they're running into with the neighbors is that while it's, you know, great and they've been active during this, which is something that you won't find with other, you know, village-to-village networks. I think the problem is that we're running into, and it's something we discussed at last night's board meeting, is that I can't give over the information to the people they're delivering to or the people they're providing the services to because of HIPAA. So they're not collecting members. So they're trying to launch their own individual services. So that way, you know, they're not going through, while it's been helpful for us, of course, it's not proving helpful to them in the end run because they don't have anything to really show for it other than a count. You know, they don't have members who are signed up with them. So they're looking at launching certain things like having a landscaping, you know, service to offer our seniors. And then looking at potentially doing transportation to fill in gaps as we see a surge in medical appointments happening. So, but yeah, they've been wonderful. You know, anytime we ran into a situation where we didn't have a staff who was readily available to do something, we could call up a volunteer from the Easthampton neighbors and carry out the job.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah. Then again, I cannot say enough about the support that we've been given through other organizations and volunteers.
I was just about to ask you that. What other groups or what other volunteers have you had?
Mainly, so our volunteers, the ones that we have directly through the senior center here, most of them had expressed concern about doing any type of services because most of them are seniors themselves, which I 100% get, and I'm not gonna. As a matter of fact, the MCOA had requested that you avoid using volunteers at all costs. The great thing about the neighbors, and this is where the chunk of our volunteer help has come from, is that they've been able to, first of all, we kind of have their younger volunteers that are with the neighbors. And so that's where we pulled most of our help from in a time where not too many people been wanting to go out. So, it's, you know, while I think we had probably 8 or 10 volunteers readily available through the neighbors. And it's been, again, it's been great. So while we don't have the same scale that we normally would, it's been great to at least plug in. And now it's just figuring out next steps for the neighbors, you know, transportation and launching their own services and stuff like that.
But you were saying other groups. So it has like the Kiwanis, or not there. Well, the Kiwanis is gone, but like the Rotary or any other.
Well, the Helping Hand also did a donation.
Yes, Helping Hand Society, and that's something that I put on my director's report, but didn't get a chance. I forgot to mention it. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Don't be
the
sorry.
Helping Hand Society donated $2,000 to us, and then we used some of our EOEA formula grant money to finish off these care packages.
Nice.
So all of the volunteers over at Helping Hand Society that voted in on giving us additional funding. And, you know, we, even before COVID broke, we ended up getting a donation for our emergency funds purposes. So, you know, that whole, how many volunteers, Eileen, is that roughly?
Well, I hate to tell you this, but I'm no longer a member of the Helping Hand, even though I still infiltrate in little ways.
Right.
It's the kind of thing as though when you retire from something, you're still part of it. But I know that we have openings. We have a maximum of 50 members in the Helping Hand. And generally during meetings, we would have participation of about 30 plus. And I know that they were doing virtual meetings. Patricia may be able to comment if she participated. Did you do the phone-in meeting, Pat?
Nope, I wasn't around that night.
Yeah, that's all right. Because I know that they recently had a telephonic meeting, and that's when I got phone calls about how come you're not a member anymore. Because they announced that I was retiring from it. But I still
hold of you.
So I'm still in touch with the board, and I will continue to do that, to share information. So if I know who to contact if we need anything.
So
And
Pat,
Patricia is an active member of the Helping Hand and on our board. So that's a nice linkage.
good. So Pat, there's obviously donations coming in from a variety of groups, but it sounds like what I'm hearing from Brendan, the groups that are really closely physically interacting here is the community center and the neighbors group.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Helping Hand.
Well, the Helping Hand's not interacting physically, right? They
Correct.
made donations
They're
financially, right?
Yeah.
Financially.
I got it. I'll make it work.
And Brendan, when you were just sort of recapping, I think it's great. I mean, we kind of know in the back of our minds that the senior center's there and what they're doing, but it's great to hear it all firsthand that, you know, the organization was really able to step up during this time. And I think it's great for everybody to know that and for us to share that with other folks who might be asking, you know.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. A weird background noise going on there. But yeah, that's it on my end. And technically, our next meeting would be August 17th. Maybe you guys want to weigh in on whether or not you want to do monthly meetings or how we should split it out. Or
I think we should.
What's that?
I think we should. It's good. It's good to hear from you. It's good to hear, even if it's only a half an hour, only a few minutes. I think it's good to hear from you, to hear what's going on, to let us know, so that way we can continue to be the advocate for you.
Yeah.
And you know, I for one would be happy to, you know, sit in. And Zoom is relatively easy, you know, even if you're. I mean, I've attended them driving somewhere, and at least you can, you know, kind of participate. So.
Right, and again, you know, like I know a couple of people had, you know, if there's an issue with Zoom itself or you can't get on video, I mean, that dial-in number works just the same. I mean, and the only downside is you don't have the neat little features, you know, that come along with the website.
Right.
Still, you can participate, and I don't want anybody to feel like that isn't an option just because, you know, video is what's seen as the normal thing here, but.
Right, you can't do like clappy hands if you're on the phone. Or
Some of us haven't figured that stuff all out, Pat, yet.
Yeah.
Look at the thumbs up.
Yeah. It's funny, when this first started, we were doing department head meetings via Zoom and it was on the phone. And now we've really kind of like, you know, really mastered the craft.
Yeah.
Like City Hall, because I'm far from, you know, knowing how to work with Zoom 100%. But now meetings aren't as awkward, because before it was, you know, everybody kind of talking at the same time because nobody was on video at that point. and we were just doing the dial-in numbers. But now it's, you know, starting to really come into its own. But yeah, so for the time being, we can continue doing these meetings. I'd be happy to do them monthly. And of course, I'll send you guys the information. We're through the city account right now. We do have a COA Zoom account, but this is linked directly to City Hall. And like I said, this is actually being recorded rather. So that's something different because, you know, when we had it here in the building, we weren't televising it. So,
Right.
But now we have it here. So.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And I like that idea of that August meeting, especially since there's a date out there of September of you opening. That'll give us a better understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, and I will drop an email to all of you guys because at some point, probably in the next week or two, Bree will probably be connecting with me, and I'll probably have a better understanding as to whether or not you know, that September date is realistic, because of course we would have to be prepping up our newsletter and to get that out for distribution. So we'll have to, I kind of need to meet with them, or at least have a conversation. And when I get a date on that, I can send that out to you guys, and maybe we could do it on Zoom or something like that. The health department.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm good with that.
Sounds good.
All right.
Good to see everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
finally had a meeting.
You did well, Patricia.
you did.
Yeah.
This is my first Zoom.
Mine too.
Yeah.
I can't say that was my first Zoom.
Yeah, right.
I think it might have been my 100th.
Oh, boy.
Right.
All right, with that, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second.
All in
Okay.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Great to see you.
Thanks, Brendan. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.